for accessibility purposes, I'll share that I am a middle-aged white woman with blondish brown hair, wearing a off-white blazer and pink blouse, and sitting in front of a row of bookcases. My pronouns are she, her, and you pronounce my name Anthea. Rhymes with Andrea. So, cringe-free self-promotion. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is the reason for my existence. This is what I do, and I'm really passionate about helping women share their expertise, increasing the number of women who are seen as experts in the areas where they've built up skills, whether that's you as founders and running your own businesses, or whether that's people operating in house in corporate roles. So, how to connect confidently with potential clients? No bragging or BS required. All right, let's see if we can get moving on to the next slide. There we go. All right, so quick poll. How does it feel to talk about your work? So, on a scale of 1 to 10, is it one, difficult, find it really uncomfortable? Five, like, I can do it when I have to, but don't love it. 10, like, yep, talk about my work all the time. It's all good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Tara, you're a 10. Everybody can learn from Tara. Tara, you should be running this. I don't sorry, I don't know what's Tara or Tara. We got 5, 6s, 10s. Oh my gosh, a lot of people at 10. Okay, you should be running this workshop. Because I still say that I put myself at like a 9 because I feel like I'm always learning. Yeah, Lynn, 6, 5, 4. Okay, so no one's really at the far end of, I guess I should go this way, ones and twos. And that's probably the nature of the beast. You are running your own business, and if you don't talk about your work, you're not gonna make any money, right? And so, okay, we accept that. That being said, it still can be uncomfortable, right? So, what we're going to talk about today is describing your business impact, who you help, and how you help them, because that's really the most important thing when it comes to talking about your work. And a trap a lot of us fall into is talking about the what of what we do, like our methodology. Like I'm a clinical psychologist, I use CBT and I do talk therapy. It's like, okay, but like, are you going to help me get over my issues with my mother? Right? Like, there's the what you do, and then there's the like why people come to you and pay you. We're going to talk about self promotion and the nuanced but important definition and distinction between bragging, and then give you a simple formula to describe a representative client result that you'll use in your self promotion. Okay, hopefully that sounds good. Why is it important to talk about your work? So share in the chat. This is not a trick question. Just like, what is the value of talking about your work? Let me get back to my view here where I can see you all in your lovely faces. Oh, it's Tara. Thank you, Tara. Um, I help more people. Yeah, when you talk about your work, you help more people. Absolutely. You find clients that can benefit from it. You give people an idea of who you are and why you do what you do. You generate more work. Yeah, you get paid, right? You're not doing this, even if you're doing it just to help people, if you're financially independent and, you're not doing it to earn money, like presumably it's because you want to help, like solve a problem in some way. Um, we can't find each other if we don't talk about your work. Absolutely. Yeah. Increasing awareness, Janet, Leah, absolutely. Melina, generate more work, 100%. Okay. So we all agree. Clients, partners, team members, even friends and family, they need to know what you do, literally what you do, and be able to explain it in a way that's memorable and repeatable. And that's critical, memorable and repeatable. Because what we're actually hitting today is not just how to talk about your work in a way that feels authentic, but frankly, how to do it in a way that other people can then talk about it. Because that's the key, because you can only be in so many rooms. But if other people know what you do and they can repeat it, they can represent you, even if it's just a friend or a family member, or if it's, business partners. So you want other people to be able to buy from you, recommend you, and collaborate with you. Absolutely. Okay. Unfortunately, nobody knows what you do. And I mean, I'm sure there are some exceptions. If you're a physiotherapist, they have a general sense. If you're a teacher, they have a general sense, but still, people really don't actually know what you do. And I'll just say, for example, my background is in communications and PR. My last in-house role, I was the head of communications for 3M in Canada. So I did media relations, I did employee communications, I consulted executives on how to talk to their teams and host town halls, supported, interactions with government. But like depending who you talk to, some people would say Anthea is a speechwriter. Some would say Anthea is an event planner, right? Some people would say like Anthea runs the intranet. So like no one actually knows what you do, no matter how straightforward you think your work is. So what we're going to do right now is introduce yourself in 6 words or less. And this is going to go beyond like, I'm a bookkeeper, I'm an accountant. You can use that still, but tell me like the impact you create. And so some examples here, like a physiotherapist might say, I help active people overcome injury. And this is the kind of intro that makes the person you're talking to lean and go like, oh, tell me more. It's not just like, oh yeah, okay. So similarly, an accountant might say, I make corporate tax filing painless because every entrepreneur can relate to, um, sure, we're going to allow an AI companion. Every entrepreneur can relate to, um, like filing their corporate taxes and, getting all their books in order is a nightmare. So I make corporate tax filing painless. Oh, fascinating. How do you do that? Right. It's the like lean in fascination. A bookkeeper, you might say, I save solopreneurs time and money. Like, stop worrying about your books and trying to reconcile and track expenses. Um, you know, I save you time and money. An SEO expert, you may say, I help authors get found online, or whoever you're most, I help coaches, I help speakers, get found online. A social media consultant, they might say, I turn followers into dollars. And there's no like right or wrong answer for this, right? It's whatever feels good and we can practice them. I'm going to let a few people in who are in the waiting room. Apologies if you were in the waiting room and I didn't let you in. One woman show here. Um, so I'd love you to take a stab at this. And I'll say, my 6 words or less intro is I help modest professionals communicate impact. I help modest professionals communicate impact. And I've played around with it and you can change it. You can have a couple depending on the room that you're in, right? Like if I was presenting right now, this is a group of entrepreneurs, women founders. I talk about modest professionals. Sometimes I talk about women specifically, like I make mid-career women promotable. Again, I'm describing the result that the end user wants. I'm not actually telling you like how I do it. I'm a communication coach. I do communication training and speaking. Right? So then you can get into that later. Yeah, take a stab at doing this yourself. So if you're a bookkeeper, accountant, whatever, assume that you've already said that, like, oh yeah, hi, I'm a bookkeeper. I blah, 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 blah in 6 words or less. And I can put those examples back on the screen if that is helpful. So give yourself like 60 seconds, brainstorm a bunch of options, and then when you're ready, share them in the chat. And also, if you want feedback or iterations, like let us know and we can give you feedback. This is a collective here. Okay, so ooh, Ashley is a complete operational package. I love it. So if I meet you at like a networking event, I'm like, interesting. Okay, does that mean that you are just going to like take over running my whole business? That sounds like a huge relief. Tell me more. How much do you charge? How do I write the check? I make participatory art with communities. Fascinating. Okay. And I would even be curious, Leah, and even Ashley as well, what's the benefit to, like in Leah, your case, the communities? So making participatory art, is it like I help do the communities feel more connected? Like I connect communities through art or connect community members? So even think about that. The Leah, your example, I make participatory with communities is a good example of like it concisely explains what you do. Has it captured like the problem that communities typically experience that will make them hire you? So you could explore that. Ooh, I help women, Jennifer, I help women reconnect with their purpose. Love it. I help women reconnect with their purpose. That seems pretty powerful. And then I would ask, "Oh, how do you do that?" And you'd probably say, "I do it through, group sessions or coaching or, retreats." I solve legal issues for business owners. Anna, love it. That seems pretty great. I heard a great one, and I can't take credit for it. A woman who's an expert in networking, J. Kelly Hoey, said the best one she ever heard was 4 words. An investment banker said, "I make founders rich." So, like the founders of startup companies, the investment banker makes them rich. Didn't say anything about investment banking, right? But those are the people that they helped. Okay, I want feedback. This is from Ria. I make running a small business painless. Okay. Anybody in the comments have feedback for Ria? Um, I think that's pretty good actually. I make running a small business painless. Maybe, I mean, small business owners have lots of pains. So if you could get at some more specific pains, Ria, then that might actually help me lean in and be like, ooh, I need that. Is it like I make staffing painless for small business owners? Or is it I make operations like someone else that we heard? Is it I make the technology painless for small business? So maybe it's like digging one level narrower on that one. It's legal issues. Yeah, I help entrepreneurs. Uh-oh, Sarah, this looks like one of the 6 words. I help entrepreneurs regain their time so they focus on their craft. Okay. So Sarah, I'm curious. Um, Maybe it's like I make space for entrepreneurs to focus. You might want to iterate a bit. Like, what's the problem? Is it that entrepreneurs are too busy, and like, what is the piece that you take away? Like, I handle whatever, like team client success, so entrepreneurs don't have to, or I handle. It sounds like maybe it's like a online business manager type function. So, um, if you can condense that, but it's still really good, letting me focus. I help businesses scale. Here, I'm just going to do a quick time check to make sure we keep moving. Um, I help businesses scale without chaos. Woo, that's amazing, right? Any of us who thinks about scaling, we think about growth and it sounds painful because we're like, I'm already super busy. I can't do more. I help businesses scale without chaos. Randa, that sounds great. Um, I hope nonprofits increase their impact. Lynn, cool. I think that's great. So all of these, the messages tested out, right? So now you've got your 6 word, 5 word, 4 word intro. Now you can start testing it out and seeing if it resonates. And the whole point, I made the mistake of working with a group on this, actually with a local chamber, their staff, so that they could introduce themselves to chamber members. And the chamber members would understand, when to contact those staff members. And the staff just used their 6 word intro and then they stopped talking. And and I was like, "Oh, I thought I had made it clear, like, it's the initial introduction you use, these 6 words, it gets people interested and it shows you understand their pain point, and then you go on to explain how you do it, right? The services you offer, typical results, that kind of thing. So that was a lesson learned for me. Um, Dawn, I make chocolate. I mean, that is pretty straightforward. If you want to distinguish yourself from others, whatever, like you could say like, um, I'm, a chocolate lover's dream or something. Like if you want something more compelling that gets people, emotionally engaged. So you could play around with that because it's like, well, do you make chocolate that's then sold in restaurants, like with desserts? Is it consumer? Like, do you want it to be gifted by companies? So it's like you could refine it more, refine it a little bit more to appeal to who you're trying to sell it to. Activate reconciliation and social impact commitments. Organize the chaos. Okay, so social impact, it could be I um I make social impact I turn social impact commitments into reality or into practice, something like that, right? Like I take something that was said and I turn it into a plan or actions. Love it. Oh, I hope businesses get net zero carbon ready. Love it. Okay. We could do these all day and I love them so much. I see some people are asking for feedback. So if you've got time and you're interested in sharing, absolutely help each other out. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The goal is, does it um, capture the interest and like explain enough of the problem that you solve? So it's less about like what you do, the day to day, your tactics, or the making the chocolate. Okay, it's more about the problem that you solve. So making modest professionals, promotable is the problem that I solve. People who have lots to give, but they aren't being found. Um, the chocolate, it could be like I satisfy chocolate lovers' needs or whatever. Um, okay, so this was a fantastic exercise. We're moving on to the definition of self promotion and bragging. And this is a biggie. I mean, self promotion, the word that is typically used before self promotion, like the qualifier, the adjective, is usually shameless, right? Oh, in an act of shameless self promotion, he, used the webinar as a chance to sell his products. Shameless, shameless, shameless. It's never just like credible, reasonable, perfectly appropriate, right? And yet self promotion, it's absolutely necessary, as we know. So women and people who are socialized as women, especially and identify as women and are perceived as women, experience some of the gender norms that make it harder for us to self promote, or it feels like it's harder. Modesty is a biggie at the root of it. And, if you look at the definition of modesty, depending on your source, the words are like unassuming. So, unassuming suggests you don't assume that people are going to care or, be interested. Literally small, chaste. And there's a lot of Judeo Christian values associated with it, avoiding impropriety, and literally not talking about their accomplishments is one of the definitions of modesty. There's a lot of research on it, and maddeningly, when people who are perceived as men are modest, and when people know about their accomplishments, but then the men are modest, it like boosts their credibility, and they're seen as better leaders. Infuriatingly, when people who are perceived as women are modest about their accomplishments, people actually take them at face value and are like, oh, okay, she must not really be that good. And so it's a double-edged sword, or it's a double hit of, we're socialized not to talk about ourselves and our work. And we are presumed to not be that competent until we have proven ourselves otherwise. So self promotion is actually even more critical for those of us who identify as women. So we're not going to resolve, values about ourselves in terms of modesty today. I would just encourage you, if you've ever found yourself sitting somewhere and listening to someone else who was chest thumping, unabashedly talking about themselves and you found it off putting, just sit with it for a minute and notice, like, was it literally shameless, inappropriate, no one asked for it, it's empty, there's no evidence. Like that is absolutely bragging, and it's fine to be like, okay, I don't want to be like that. But if person is credibly talking about objective accomplishments that they've created, and the context is appropriate, ask yourself, like, is that reasonable? Is that justified that they're talking about that accomplishment at this time, right? Because the goal is to find a happy medium between these two options, right? Because it can feel like this is it. Well, I don't want to be the peacock bragging about myself, and so I let my work speak for itself. I don't talk about myself, which here is like a timid field mouse. But the truth is that there's some third way, some middle way. And apologies to any vegetarians or vegans. It is possible to have a 1-to-1 ratio of sizzle to steak. And this is like a nod to that. saying, when people say, oh, he's all sizzle and no steak, meaning it's all talk and there's no substance, it's possible to have an equal ratio of what you talk about to the substance of what you do. Okay. And the reason you're able to do that is because counterintuitively, your work and your accomplishments or your career for an in-house person, they're actually not really about you. They're about the results that, yes, you helped create, but for other people or other organizations. And so when you think about it that way, it's less about like, yeah, and I'm an amazing digital marketer, and more about I've helped companies sell more of their priority products by creating better web pages, right? Like there's a difference to that between saying I'm an amazing digital marketer and saying I've helped companies sell more products with better websites. Um, because that is you have proof of that. If you don't have proof of that, then you're lying and like you're in the wrong seminar. Um, but this is about, things that you've credibly accomplished that you can speak to. So your work is about outcomes you create. So, oh, I love all the examples in the chat. I'm just doing a quick check-in. Um, okay, so on the this idea of cringe-free self-promotion, it's not necessarily shameless. It's about credible outcomes you create. Um, it's not bragging. Bragging is false confidence, right? I'm not telling you do power poses, puff yourselves up. There's actually research that shows, and I've experienced it with clients, where when you just take time to reflect on past accomplishments, whether it's a great campaign you ran for a client that generated leads, whether it's something you did in your last in-house role where you were recognized and got promoted. When you take a few moments to reflect on past accomplishments, that increases your self-confidence in the moment. And so as you start talking about client results, and we're going to talk about that formula, um, you'll actually become more confident. So it's not about like displaying confidence, it's actually developing the confidence through practice. Yeah, cringe-free self-promotion, not false. Also, like bragging is also when it's like not appropriate or when it's designed to make other people feel bad, when it's designed to position you as better than someone else. Like there are all these ways that that's bragging, right? Self-promotion is just well, I can show you. It's objective evidence about business outcomes you've created in the past that are relevant to the listener, right? I mean, you wouldn't be talking to someone, who's saying like, "Well, I really need to find somebody, with legal expertise," and then you wouldn't start talking about your expertise in like physiotherapy. Like that just seems not relevant. But unless you were sharing like what you each both do. But self-promotion, when it's, credible and you have proof points of, yes, for this client, I did XYZ. For this client, they had this problem and I solved it this way, and now they're achieving X. Those are just you pointing to examples. That's not you coming up with anything um, that's untrue. So let's get into an actual formula you can use. And this is one that I use all the time in talking about client outcomes and my own outcomes, that kind of thing. So what it does is it really teasing out activities, which are the things you do in like the majority of your day and your week, from the outcomes that those activities create. And this is from a framework called a logic model. It originated with nonprofits when they wanted to show impact. There was someone in here, a few people who do impact, some for nonprofits, some for social. So you're probably familiar with it, where you don't just say, "Well, we deliver, we provide meals to children." It's that may be the activity you do, but the outcome is like no child goes to school hungry, right, or something like that. So here if we think about examples going to our search engine optimization expert, so someone who does like keywords in a website, they might say, "Oh, I like a recent client project. I optimized the keywords in a clinical psychologist website." Okay, cool. Like that's what you did. You spent your time like tippy tapping on your keyboard. So what? That's what an outcome could be. An outcome is so what? Well, that clinical psychologist now comes up as the top search result in Google or in, you know, Gemini or, whatever the latest AI mechanism is now. But she's now the top search result when somebody searches CBT, like, what is that? Conversational behavior therapy, I think. And Toronto. So somebody searching those terms would land at this person's website. Okay, admitting another person. Hopefully everybody's making it in. Welcome to anyone who's new. So the outcome for that client didn't want keyword optimization, really, right? The client paid for the problem she had. What she paid for was, I want people to find me. I want people who need my services to find me. And so she was in the Toronto area and she offers CBT therapy and counseling. And so I did the keyword optimization. She's now the top search result and she gets dozens of leads every day with $0 in advertising. So then you just put those two things together to share a client result. So I optimized keywords for a psychologist's website, and she now gets dozens of qualified leads without spending money on ads. Done. So we can share another one, the same thing. So an action you took, the outcome it created for your client, and then put it together for a single client result story. Communication coach. Okay, so this is me. I recently helped a nutrition professor describe her research program. She had a lot of things going on. It was complex, hard to talk about, and it wasn't clear, right, what the impact was. So I helped her explain her research program. She landed a job at the university of her choice, including a 10% pay increase. So super happy. Doing the work she loves, has a great new set of peers, and got a pay bump. Okay, so putting those together, like that's what she paid for. What I did was communication coaching, talking about a research program, building key messages. Okay, so the result is when you tie it all together, I helped a professor explain her research and she landed a job with a 10% pay increase. And we'll just do one more. I know that you get it. I think it's just helpful to share like different, because we have so many different uh, fields and areas of expertise represented here. Hi, everyone, if you're just new. Okay, and then a physiotherapist. So this person might say, I designed, so the activities I took, the actions I took. I designed a strength training and stretching program for a runner with chronic calf injuries. Okay, well, like that sounds good. And we don't just pay to like go stretch. We do it because there's a reason. Um, that runner overcame her injuries and recently ran her first marathon. So the implication here is that this person not only recovered but accomplished something physically she had never done before, right? So I designed a strength training and stretching program that helped a runner overcome chronic calf injuries to run her first marathon. Notice, like, this isn't promising, like, I'm gonna make you can still say, obviously, everyone's results vary. Like in something like a physiotherapist or a therapist, there's a lot that depends on the client and their actions. However, you can say, here's a representative example of something I've done. So the client result. So I've been talking a lot now. I'd love you to take a minute and think of a recent client project. This is your turn. Describe the action you took and the outcome it created, and then combine them into a single like client result that you can share. So recent client project, what did you do in one sentence? And then what was the outcome for the client in one sentence? So give yourself like 60, 90 seconds to work on that. Right. Some of you are keeners. I love it. You've already got yours. Ria, hopefully, or Rhea. I'm going to guess it's Ria. I
Ria.
turned, sorry?
It's Ria.
Ria, perfect. I turned a client's business idea into an app and they're now acquiring clients globally. Amazing. Do you have a sense of even how much money they're making?
No, because I felt that that was rude for me to ask. But they keep coming back for more builds, more additions.
Yeah, well, and if you have a sense of how much they charge per client, how many clients they are, you can create a ballpark figure. So, because even more powerful, because entrepreneurs and anyone's ears perk up when they hear dollars, because that's a metric that we all understand. So, even better is you could say, I turned a client's business idea into an app that's now generating um, whatever, like $50,000 a year in annual recurring revenue, and it's increasing, every month or something. Um, yeah. So you can ballpark it without having to know the exact figures. Robin, I helped a small business owner resolve conflict in their team and increase their profits within 3 months. Fascinating. That is powerful. Um, so then you can speak to how like team dynamics affect a company's profitability, right? Whether it's in increasing sales or finding efficiencies. Um, that's really powerful. Anybody else? Okay. Tara. I offered to meet a customer in person to deliver the product because they lived near me. I sold them a book for $5 that included shipping and everything. Would have normally cost them over 20. Okay. So that's an example of the level of service you provide. I guess my question would be, do you want to do more of that in the future? So Tara, that is lovely. And like that's maybe evidence of how customer focused you are. Um, and if you want to do more of that, great. Um, so it's like, and I'll even, and I've even delivered to someone's door. I would focus, more on like, well, what was the book about and why do people want to buy it from you? And so like past readers have said, you know, one reader who read my book had this transformation. So I might focus more on like the actual outcome they're going to get. Um, unless that like free customer service is what you want to do more of. Um, I helped design a community platform for small business owners to grow and network with other business owners, helping entrepreneurs. Okay, so Sarah, what's the outcome? So I helped design a platform that lets small business owners network with each other. Um, that has like, are there specific collaborations that have come out of that? Or are you tracking the number of referrals that they've created for each other? Like, it would be great to have a metric like, and in its first 6 months, the platform generated $50,000 worth of referrals for member users, something like that. Because like, what's the outcome, right? Why would or is it um yeah, just focus on like what was the or did it generate revenue? Like the members who paid to be part of it, what was the did you charge and did that make money for you or for like I'm just trying to figure out like who it helped. Zenan, I did energy audits on 20 commercial buildings across the GTA in 15 days to help them access funding and grants up to 100K, making the buildings more energy. Wow. Okay. And so this looks like I don't know whether this is Zenon, your example, if that's multiple clients, and but this could be a collective. And so I've conducted energy audits on 20 commercial buildings across the GTA that helped um, X number of clients access, and I would have a specific number. So like um, in total, so if it was like it helped 10 clients, or if it's 20 clients, um, access, whatever that ends up being is like $250,000, $200,000 in grants for energy efficiency, right? You could use the total. So one example would be like one client I did an energy audit and they were able to apply for and receive $80,000 in grant funding. Oh, and then you could also keep track in total of like to date the running number, the running dollar. I voiced a startup commercial campaign to help the ad be seen by ex-viewers, and now they're a global company. Oh my God, Hannah, do you wish that you'd been given like stock that your commercial is generating has generated revenue? That's great. Now, do you know how much that global company is worth? Like, are they now a global company valued at X dollars? Like, again, show your business acumen, right? In It's not just that you were the voice for that campaign and they've since grown um, with the business growth. And I voiced a startup commercial campaign that helped the ad get seen by its number of viewers and supported a company's growth from, $1 million in annual revenue to five or something. Lynn, I helped a youth shelter identify the important impact they wanted to make, develop a plan to deliver it, which enabled them to rally donors, raise more money, and fund the expanded strategy to help more youth. Okay, so how could we condense that? Um, I helped a youth shelter clarify its priorities. Um, and um, over a 12 or 18-month period, whatever that was, exceed their fundraising goals and help an additional, and serve an additional 200 youth, right? Um, an increase of 50% over the amount that they were serving already or something, right? So give some numbers, of the number of youth they were now able to serve, because that's what people remember. Remember, memorable and repeatable. Memorable and repeatable. Ideally, someone could go away after meeting you and they could repeat your 6-word intro, 6 words or less, and they could paraphrase your a client result that you shared with them. That's the goal. And they're not going to use your exact words, but ideally they can understand it well enough they could explain it to someone else. I delivered a training, Sarah, that helped a professor boost student satisfaction by 25%. Oh, okay. So, um, yeah, I delivered I don't know what kind of training it was, whether it was in on using online tools or if it's about communication skills in the classroom or engaging students with different learning styles. Um, but it increased a professor's student satisfaction scores 25%. And those matter because those are considered when professors go up for tenure, right? Love it. So positioning that professor for a tenure track job potentially. Oh, you've got so many. I love it. Okay, I'm sorry that we can't go through them all. We'll leave a bit of time at the end, and I can stick around for a few minutes to connect with people, but also I'll give you information on how to connect with me if you are interested. So that was excellent. You're all really thinking about the client results that you've created. These are historical evidence that you can use that people can help people understand what you might do for them in the future. So, what are some easy scenarios where you can practice talking about your accomplishments? Because this is the thing, your client results. It's all well and good. You've done it today, love it. You've been engaged, practicing. The truth is, this is like a muscle. You need to strengthen it, use it every day. And my 16-year-old daughter actually said to me recently, "Yeah, mom, I noticed that you talk about your work kind of all over the place." And she's right. I started when I bumped into other moms at student pickup, like in parking lots, and they'd say, "Hey, what have you been up to lately?" Or "How are things going?" I'd say, "Really good. I've built a communication practice, a coaching practice where I help modest professionals get promoted, communicate their work." And they go, "Interesting." And then I might share a recent client accomplishment. And that's it. They asked what I was up to. I told them 20 seconds, done. And in the practicing, a few things happen. You get more comfortable doing it so that when the stakes are higher, right? When you're at a business networking session, when you're going into a client, you know, a prospective client intro meeting or even a pitch meeting, that it's just more comfortable because you've done it. You also um, can finesse the language. So you notice, if you pay attention to people's eyes, their eyes widen as they understand something right? And they'll do slight nonverbal um, body language gestures, that kind of thing, that indicate either their interest or their like absolute lack of understanding. So if you get the like glassy, like, nice, like they haven't understood it. And you might say, oh, but Anthea, they're not my target audience. I don't care. Like, yeah, you'll get into the technical jargon with your target audience who totally understands you. And if you can't describe it in this more simple, plain English way, then you really don't understand the value you're creating. And other people can't talk about it on your behalf. And that's the key is you want other people out there, right? Like look at everyone on this call. Imagine if everyone on this call understood what everyone else did and was able to be like, oh, yeah, you need somebody who can describe social impact. You should get in touch with Lynn. Apologies if I got the name wrong. So right, like imagine the army of people that you could have on your behalf representing you out in the world if they understood what you do. So, something I suggest to a lot of my clients, many of whom are women, not all, is every time you go to the hairstylist, right? If you get your hair colored or just cut, or a similar appointment like that, is it's a good anchor for you to think like, oh, okay, when they ask me, so how are things? How have you been? How many of us just normally would say, oh, things are crazy. It's really busy. I would say my 16-year-old is just got her license. It's been fun and stressful, helping her practice driving. Now we're looking ahead to the summer. You kind of get into all your personal stuff. What if, bear with me, when you sat down and your hairstylist said, so how are things? What if you said, you know what? Things are going really well. I recently helped a client. Um, I'll go back to my search engine optimization thing. I recently overhauled the keywords on a therapist's website, and now she's getting dozens of leads every week for people who want our services without having to buy any ads. That feels really good. Like you could experiment with sharing something like that because that is something you've been doing recently, right? And then that exercises that muscle of talking about your work in a way that feels credible. Now they might go like, "Oh, cool, that's great," and then you might go on to something else, but at least you practiced. So here's where I want you to take, and in this case, like a solid minute or two, and write your action plan. So it's going to have a short term commitment where you're going to do something in the next couple days, and then a long term commitment, which is something you're going to have an anchor, like that going to the hairdresser, where every time you're in that situation or experience that anchor, you're going to practice talking about a client result and your self promotion. So, like, here's an example, short term. I'll just show that. Like this Saturday, I'm going to my cousin's baby shower. I'm going to use the action and outcome formula to tell my sister-in-law about a recent client result. So this Saturday, I'm going to use this formula to tell this person this thing. And so write down a short-term commitment for yourself. And then for those of you who've thought of your short-term commitment, next is a longer-term commitment. And this isn't a commitment in the big sense. You're not like overly committing, but this is picking your anchor. So like that hairdresser appointment where it's like, okay, I go 4 times a year, 3 times a year. Every time I go, I'm going to use that as an opportunity to practice my self promotion. Um, Another one could be every time a friend asks how I'm doing, I'm going to tell them first about a recent client result. And you can tell me like, oh, Anthea, this feels weird. Like when I talk to my friends, I don't want to talk to them about work. And I would challenge you, like, why not? If it's something you care about, you're building your business. Imagine if your friend understood your work and he or she could talk about your work to other prospective clients, right? It doesn't mean that's all you're going to talk about, but you could challenge yourself that that's what you're going to do the next time you see a friend, or whatever. It could be pick a specific person. It could be a certain scenario. It could be like every time I'm sitting at swim practice, you know, um, you could even ask one of the other parents, sitting beside you, like, hey. I'm practicing talking more about my work. Do you mind if I, bounce a couple things off of you? No. It sounds awkward until you try it, and then actually people are usually pretty supportive. So, get your action plan with your short-term commitment and your long-term one, and then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A. I love it. There's so much good contributions in the chat. I hope you've gotten able to learn from and use each other's. Well, Zena, and I didn't even tell people I started my own business, right? So I can share my first job. So this wasn't related to starting a business, but my first job coming out of university, I told everyone I knew that I wanted to work in corporate communications, like marketing communications. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, I nanny for somebody who does something to do with marketing. You should talk to her." And so her name ended up being Kimberly. I talked to this woman, Kimberly. Kimberly has become like a close friend, a client, uh, partner, collaborator, throughout my career, gave me my first job. And it all came because Kimberly's nanny is my friend. And I mentioned that I was looking for something vaguely related to something that Kimberly does. Right. So you really don't appreciate how many people are out there that that could be advocating on your behalf or even just connecting you. Okay, so yeah, if you want to share your short-term impacts in the chat, feel free. Sorry, short-term action plan, your short-term commitment, your long-term commitment, feel free. And if you don't want to, that's okay. Um, and if you are interested in doing more of this, so diving deeper and really practicing, honestly, role playing helps. It's super cringy initially, but as you go through it, then you can do it cringe free. I invite anyone on this call to book a session with me. There's 75 minutes, it's one to one coaching, and you can practice your self promotion. We'll perfect your intro, make it feel authentic and accurate without being overly technical. And really with the goal of attracting the right clients, right? That's ultimately why we're here. Um, and regularly that would be for the 75 minutes, it would be $250 Canadian. But the price for anyone attending today would be $225, as long as you book by May 25th, Sunday, May 25th. So you don't have to have had the session by then, we just have to have booked it by then. So consider that if that's of interest. Would love to connect with, each of you more deeply. And then, of course, you can find me in a few places online. LinkedIn, I'm definitely more active. Instagram, I am inconsistent. I should be better at it, but I definitely don't get a lot of my clients through there. So I focus a lot on LinkedIn, and exemplify.com is my website. All right. Does anyone have any questions? And I can't see any hands up if you have your hand up.
I put
So
my
feel free to.
question in the chat.
Yeah, Ria.
Um, so I listened to what you had said and I tweaked my statement to I solve tech growing pains for small businesses.
Sorry, say that again.
I solve tech growing pains for
Yep.
small businesses.
Okay, that's your 6-word intro.
Yes. How does that sound to you?
I love it. What are reactions from the group? I solve tech growing pains for small businesses. Um,
I think you
yeah,
need to
yeah,
to
go ahead.
kind of you need to narrow it down a bit. Um, it can be very, very, very vague. So kind of narrow down what is it that you exactly solve? Because like, are you an MSP, for example? Do you take on help desk stuff? Are you software development? So I would just narrow it down a bit so
Mm.
you can talk to the right people.
That's a really good point.
So Ria, tell me a little bit more about what you do.
It is custom software development, but it's specifically for non-technical founders of small business owners and small business owners.
Okay. So software development. Okay. So it's not just like, oh, here's the tech stack that you need, like you need Zoom and Google Workspace and whatever. This is like, I actually help you develop like an app or the back end software, that kind of thing?
Yes, because a lot of them are struggling with spreadsheets and lots of apps that don't talk to each other. So we eliminate that pain point. We create a custom solution for them that actually helps them run their business effortlessly.
Oh, so is it like I make back end tech easy for small business?
A lot of business owners do not know what back end tech means
Okay.
because they are not technical.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then start testing it. You said I make tech easy for small businesses.
Tech growing pains, I believe it was.
Oh yes, tech growing pains. Um, yeah, maybe it's even I simplify tech or I connect. Maybe not. Yeah, I simplify tech for small businesses. So go out and test it, right? And see, because you probably know the type of client that you need to work with, or that who's best for you. It's like ones that already have sounds like a few things, right? They maybe have a CRM as well as something else, and they need those systems to talk to each other, right? Is that the kind of thing?
Yes.
So I would experiment and like what's the problem that they have? Is the problem because that's what you're really promising. Like what's the problem you solve? Is it you um yeah, I know what you mean, like the growing pains. Is it like you make technology work? Yeah, yeah. I think that you're close. I would go start testing it just with random people and then see what sticks. It doesn't the goal is not to be perfectly accurate because in 6 words you can't, right? So it can't be
Right.
comprehensive, but it's really about the outcome, the pain point that you solve. So the investment banker says, I make founders rich. Doesn't mention anything about banking or deals or sales or IPOs or whatever. For me, I make modest professionals promotable. I don't talk about communication skills or whatever. And so is it so you can just play around with like what is the typical problem that they have and how your solution solves it. So any other questions you want to ask live or put in the chat and I can try to address. Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Can I ask a question if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Hi, so I'm Zanan. You have been seeing my messages for
Zanan,
some.
sorry, I was pronouncing it Zanan.
That's
Nice to meet
fine.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for this wonderful workshop. I think it's really, really important because I feel like, especially me, I lack a lot of confidence to talk about myself and say all the good things and really eliminate those bits and bobs when I'm having a conversation, trying to be too humble and modest. So this is something I really struggle with. But at the same time, the kind of work I do is really technical. And unless we get to the work, people don't understand what I'm talking about. Like net zero carbon, not a lot of people know what net zero carbon is. And I don't want to say sustainability because it's such a broad and vague term that people are starting to use it like very normally.
Yeah.
So I do very technical stuff that's like calculations and like number crunching as opposed to just like strategy, which is kind of really vague. So I think my question is like, how do I frame this when, I want to help organizations of all sizes, but like without being technical?
Well, so the clients who have paid you to date, did they have a goal of being net zero or reducing their carbon footprint?
So different kinds. So some were already kind of aware of net zero carbon, and it was like a requirement for them because they are large organizations, but they needed someone to do it for them because obviously they don't have all kinds of expertise. But then for smaller businesses, they heard of sustainability, eco-conscious, not using plastic, but they have not heard about like the technical term net zero carbon and how they can also participate in it and have access to funding, or when they're signing a lease, how they can make sure that their landlords making sure that their property is at zero
Yeah.
carbon.
Well, do what about the phrase greenhouse gas emissions? Do most
Ah,
people
okay.
understand that?
I haven't really tried using that word to be fair, but maybe, yeah, that's a great point.
because that might be the halfway point between net zero. You know,
And
those of us
sustain.
who've been in the sustainability space understand that that means that your
Mhm.
business produces zero, like CO2 emissions
Yeah.
and other ones too. For people who don't, then you're not complicating it. Yeah, so maybe it's I help, small businesses reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, like without compromising profitability or something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that's a bit longer than 6 words, but yeah, something like that. Because I think emissions, people start to understand that even if they don't know how it really works and how it connects to climate change, um,
Yeah.
then yeah, so you could experiment. So yeah, try that and see, and then
Yeah.
play with the wording.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
Sana.
you.
Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time today. Hope it was useful. Then I'll see you in Circle in KWCC. Take care.